Okay, we're going to be tying the a shrimp fly here. I call it the cross shrimp because I believe it could be used as a crawfish or shrimp imitation. I'll be using the size 1 Mustad, equivalent to 34007. I tie these in a size 1 and a size 4. I like preparing my materials ahead of time, so when it comes to tying a fly, I just have to grab what I need and lash it on a hook. That being said, I use the hook as a gauge to size my materials. The lead I'll be using is a 1/8 inch wide strip lead, and I measured that just as a starting point. It has a nice kind of a slow descent. I'll go about the length of the hook shank and just cut that. And I'll go ahead and cut a dozen of those to length using that. I'll lay this on my bench and use that as my measurer and cut a bunch of them. You want to mash the ends so it makes it easy to tie in, and you have a transition when you're tying it. You'll see once we get to that stage. But I use these little flat nose, flat jaw pliers and squish the end. And I squish that in. Then I bend this end in. About like that. And then come back and fold this one over like that. And I'll go ahead and squish those ends as well. There's a little thickness of lead that's going to be mounted on top of the hook for it to turn over. I use this in lieu of barbell eyes just so it stays a little more weedless. Down in our waters down here we have some weeds that get hung up on the barbell eyes. Set that aside. Then I'm going to go ahead and prepare my eyes. The eyes that I've already actually created and made. I'm going to smash those at my tie-in point. And I've just determined that a good length for the eyes to protrude from the back of the hook is about the gap of the hook. And I just come down here and I smash that flat, and that's going to be my tie-in point, so I don't have to think about it when it comes to tying the fly. And I do that to all of my eyes that I'm going to tie in that sitting. That way when it comes time to tie it in, I just tie it in at that flat spot. The flat spot lays on the side of the hook, you'll see. So the eyes are prepared. Next is the Weedguard. For this size hook, I use the Hard Mason 20-pound test. I'll make a loop in the end. Loop in the end of the mono, or in the nylon. I'll attach it to a nail on my bench and stretch it tight. And that gets all the coils out of it, so your legs will be pretty straight. I'm going to measure my Weedguard by having the legs stick past the point when I wrap it around the front, and double that to about like that, and then cut it. And I'll use this to cut a bunch of leg. I use that one as a gauge to cut all my weed guards for this size hook. And when I do that, I usually have a dozen or so in my hand. I'll go ahead and tape them together just to help keep track of them, using some masking tape. You don't want to tape too much of it, just stick down the ends. About 2 1/4 inches, so I'll go ahead and mark it in the middle, about 1 1/8. I'm gonna do this off camera so I can get it. I can hold it better. There's a little mark. Okay, that's the midpoint of my weed guards. And again, to make it, we're going to go ahead and mash this mono, and that'll make it easier to bend around a hook. So we're going to take on a mark and squish it flat. Go to the next one. Squish it flat. Doesn't have to be precise, but it just takes some of the guesswork out. It actually goes quicker if you do that. And then there they are, all mashed flat, ready to bend over the hook. And then of course you get your other materials ready. I'll be using this flush cutter. Some Danville Flymaster Plus thread. My tying scissors. A little thinning shears for trimming the wing. My dog brush to comb out the wing. And then I'm going to use the Krystal Antron Chenille 6mm for this size fly. It has a little sparkle in it. Very nice body material. And then for the mandibles, fluorescent orange rabbit strip. The antenna, some black Krystal flash. And of course a brush, a dubbing brush that I made. You can go to one of my other videos where I show how to make this, as well as the shrimp eyes. And then some silicone micro mini legs. I'm going to use the barred black on chestnut. And so I don't have to take it out the package each time, what I'll do is I'll prepare it ahead of time. I open up the package, and the legs are held together by a little piece of clear tubing. I cut that tubing to release the legs, and I'll select 2 of these legs for every fly. This is actually going to be cut. I'm going to cut these legs in half like this when it comes time to tie them in. Okay, let's get started to tie. Start your thread. You just start about halfway down. 5 or 6 wrap jam knot. Take it down into the bend a little bit. I forgot to mention, I have a couple of these little clips handy for holding my rabbit fur, and also for holding the rubber legs out of the way later when I tie them in. I use about 3/4 of that clip, and then trim it off the hive here. There's my bunch of hair for the tail. Grab them up by the tips and just pull out some of the fluff. You don't want to pull it all out. You want to have a little fullness back there. That's why I don't use some of the synthetic materials. I like to have that little puffiness back there. Okay, once you get your little bunch how you want it, in order to help keep the fluffy rabbit out of your way while you're tying the rest of the fly, go ahead and wet it down a little bit. Actually wet it down a lot. Go about 1 thread wrap past where you started. Select, I use three strands of the Krystal flash, and what I do is I'll pinch this end, and then I'll fold it around the thread and even up the ends like this. Hold it up, secure with about 4 or 5 wraps, separate the bunch, and then I'll hold them apart, 3 on each side of the hook. See if I can do this so y'all can see it. Kind of downwards. That way, when it's secured the rest of the way, it'll be on the inside of the hook. Like that. At this point, you want to tie in your Antron, peel off some of the fuzz to expose the inner bonding string, and secure that right there. Secure it with about 8 to 10 wraps. Trim the excess off, and then grab a pair of eyes. I like doing the opposite side first, and then just go ahead and you've got your spot marked already. Secure it with three thread wraps, 3 or 4. Come around to this side. Just make about 2 wraps and then check to see that they're even. When they're even, go ahead and pull tight on the thread and then finish wrapping down. You want to keep the mono on each side of the hook. can do some loose wraps. Do a few loose wraps and then pull it tight. And then with your flush cutters, come in, cut it on a little angle. And take your thread to about one good hook eye back from the hook eye. That's what we're going to secure the Weedguard. Take one of your Weedguards out of your tape. It'll bend easily at the flattened point. Slip it over the hook with some sticking up and make 1, 2, 3 wraps this way, and then hold that top part back and make 1, 2, 3 wraps that way, or maybe 4. Okay, now these legs are probably going to twist up a little bit on you. That's fine. What you're going to do is separate them where they're supposed to be, hold your finger between them and pinch it together, and then pull down and push, pull down the legs and then push down on the folded part with your nail if you have to, and then go ahead and separate this a little bit. You want to pull them apart a little bit and push them wraps back up. Then go ahead and measure back. Of course you want them down at the bottom. I had the hook twisted. Bend the legs back and cut them off just before the hook point. Oh. Something else we'll be using is, this is a CA glue. It's a thin formula. Bob Smith Industries. I just get it at my local hardware store, actually the Train hobby store. And you want to put a drop on top of that Weedguard. And if there's too much, which often there is with this thin formula, it just runs out. That's why I hold my thread to the side so it doesn't run down the thread into my bobbin. Just kind of touch it with the paper towel and it'll sop right up. Now what you want to do is make 3 careful wraps, 1, 2, 3 across this way, and 1. I'm going over the top and between the legs, 2, 3. And then take your thread back to just over where your Weedguard was tied in. Prop them out. I forgot to say, before you drop that super glue, you want to come in on the end and check this way to make sure they're symmetrical. The hook point is split in the V. Now we're going to tie in our lead. We have a nice flat base, nice flat foundation created from the stems of the mono, and this is going to help raise that lead up a little bit higher to help flip the fly over. Now I want this end of the lead to be even with the tie-in point of the eyes. I'm going to go ahead and tie that down. You can kind of take it, you can kind of smooth the end down with your fingernail. Come up about 8 to 10 wraps, about 2/3 back on a hook shank. That's where your legs is going to be tied in. And then just kind of open spiral it forward to get the thread out the way. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these wraps of the chenille behind the eyes to pop them out before I have my legs tied in. Just kind of move each eye out the way as you. It should be about 2 wraps. You want to hold your whiskers and your mandible so the chenille doesn't twist it around when you're wrapping it. And that kind of cocks your eyes out. And then just secure this around your vise. Take your thread back and get your rubber leg, one of your legs. This is actually going to make 4. Even up the tips. Hold the tips in this hand and then cut it at the bottom. And you have 2 equal length legs. You're going to trim them so it doesn't have to be that critical. Just like your Krystal flash, fold the legs over the thread and bring it to your side of the hook. You have a nice flat tie-in spot with the height of that lead on there. Go 1 and a second wrap to hold those in place while you cut your second leg. Two, 3 wraps, and then a half hitch. Pull these out the way, and bring your thread up to the front. Okay, now to keep these tame, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them forward with no tension on them, and I'm going to clip them right in front of the hook eye, and I'm going to split them, let them straddle around the hook eye and lay there. Grab the 2 back ones and do the same thing. Just kind of pinch them up loose. Clip them right in front, let them lay there. And now I'm going to finish wrapping the body. You should be making 2 or 3 at the most. You don't want no more than 3 wraps between the eyes and the legs. Okay, get your rear set of legs, pull them back. You can actually even stretch them a little bit while you put a wrap of chenille in between the set of legs. Grab your other set of legs, fold it back, pull it back a little bit, and then finish wrapping your body. Actually, the legs are optional on this fly. I originally tied it and fished it without the legs, and it caught fish fine. I just wanted it to have a little more action. Go over and then come up between the legs with your chenille. Make 1, 2 wraps. And you're going to trim this close because we're going to be putting a dab of super glue on there later to help hold the wing. Peel off the excess fuzz. Make 3 or 4 wraps to the back of the eye. Let your legs dangle. And then get your brush. Now what you want to do is find, it may be thick around the core. When you created your brush, you want to cut back a little bit on that. Snip that off, toss it, and you want to strip maybe about 1/4 inch of the fibers back off the wire. Go ahead and fold out, bend out your weed guard to open it up here, because you're going to be tying off in between it. Lay your brush out the way on the back side. Come up front here. Make 2 or 3 wraps. And you want to cut this off where it's about the length of the head. About like that. And you're going to fold that back. Make a couple wraps to lash it down. Pull your thread out the way. And then come in and just put a little dab. Put a little dab of super glue right there. And then wrap it down to the back of your head. Now what you want to do is hold your wing, pull your dubbing brush out, and then kind of fold it back on itself, kind of like if you were doing I guess a spay hackle, where you fold the fibers back. You're kind of brushing it, teasing it out back like this. Like that. And you can fold it like this, and you want to bring it to the back of the hook, and you want to grab all your stuff hanging off the back, the eyes, the whiskers, and the orange mandible. Stick it around the hook bend and push it back towards you, and then pull it tight, and then come back forward. Go ahead and tease this up a little bit. Also, you want to kind of fold this stuff out the way on the back side that you just did, like that. Then go ahead and tease this up. Bring it between your weed guard to measure where you're going to cut it. Which is going to be a little bit in front of the hook eye. Kind of separate your fibers where your tie-in point's going to be. Pull it taut. Remember, this is between your weed guard legs. 1, 2, 3. You want to fold this up, and here again, just trim it. Fold it up, and then trim it about the length of your head. And then push that down. Make 2 or 3 wraps. Pull your thread out the way, hit it with a little super glue again. Flip it back over to finish it off and with a whip finish. I would have used brown thread if I had any, but I don't. So I just hit it with a little marker. That'll do. close enough. Go ahead and unhook your legs. And then trim them to length. I'll take about a 1/2 inch off to where they're, is that about 1 1/4 hook shanks length. Flip it over, pull them back down, not totally down, but straight out like that. Okay. Remove your fly from the vise. Go ahead and pick out your fibers. They shouldn't be matted down because you combed them and teased them out nicely. You could probably fish it just like this, but I like thinning out the material in front of the hook point just to ensure better hookups. So what I'll do is I'll raise that hair up a little bit. I don't know if you can see the hook point through there or not. I'll raise that hair up, have this wing go back, pull the weed guards out the way, and I just use my thinning shears to kind of thin that out a little bit. Push your weed guards back up in place, and there you go. Now you might ask why I didn't just tie the wing in the front. Well, that works, as evidenced by the bend back and Crazy Charlie and countless numbers of flies that have a wing tied in at the front. By tying the brush in at the front, pulling it along the body around the back along the body, and tying it off on the front, the wing stays with the body. So when that hook is sinking and the wing wants to parachute up away from the body, it'll stay attached to the body and it'll just sink all as one. Now that also, I've caught redfish and sheep's head on this. I hadn't fished it for bass yet, but to me that looks like that's close enough to crawfish. So go ahead and view the video I did on making a brush. Make your own brushes and your own colors, and go have fun. Till next time, bye bye.